One of the only quadrilaterals that we haven't talked about in this chapter yet is trapezoids. Now we've identified what a trapezoid is, but we haven't really talked about any of their properties. Well, in a trapezoid, there are such things called a midsegment. Now, a midsegment is a segment that connects the midpoints of the opposite sides. So LK is the midsegment. So L and K are midpoints of their sides. Okay. Now to find the length of the midsegment, okay, so LK equals 1/2 times the sum of the bases. So let me write that out in English. So the midsegment is 1/2 base plus base. Okay. Now, these letters I'm using because this is my problem. So I've got a base here, I got a base here, and I got my midsegment there. Well, LK I don't know, so that's X. Okay. 1/2 DC is 5.9 plus EB is 8.7. Okay. Well, order of operations, do what's in the parentheses first, although in your calculators, you're probably all going to put it in at the same time. 5.9 plus 8.7 is 14.6. Well, half of 14.6 is 7.3. And that's the length of the midsegment. Okay? All right, now, this says find the length of the base. So this time, there's X. So here's my base, and my midsegment. So UV equals 1/2 times KL, that's one base, plus JM is the other base. Well, let's plug in what we know. UV is 31. KL is 19 plus X, because that's what JM is. I don't know. That's the variable. Now, there's a couple different things you could do here, guys, okay? Because X is on the other side of the equal sign. You could distribute the 1/2 and be okay. That's fine. However, anytime you have a fraction in an equation, my suggestion is to get rid of the fraction as soon as possible. Now, in this problem, you didn't have to worry about that because we had all numbers. We didn't have to worry about anything. We just put that on our calculator and we're good. Now we've got an X in the parentheses, okay? So what I would do is I would multiply both sides by 2, okay? Because here's what happens. The 1/2 times 2 cancels out. 2 times 31 is 62. Now, because the 1/2 and the 2 cancel out, we can drop the parentheses, and now I just have 19 plus X. It's a one-step equation. Minus 19. So X, the other base, is 43. Okay? So a couple of examples of midsegment. Okay, now, you see these right here? All right. What this is, that means that XW is congruent to YZ. Okay? So this is called an isosceles trapezoid. Okay? Isosceles trapezoid, the legs are congruent. Now, what are the legs? The legs are the congruent sides. Here are the bases. Okay? So, what that also means is that these right here, so we'll call that x, these are called base angles, okay? All right? These are base angles, all right? So not only are the legs congruent, but the base angles are congruent. So what that means is the measure of angle x, because that's the letter, the measure of angle x is 95 degrees, okay? Now, this only happens in an isosceles trapezoid, okay? If the legs aren't congruent, then it's just a plain old trapezoid, and none of these rules are good. So again, only for isosceles trapezoid. Okay, now, here's the difference, okay? All right, there's no congruent legs, okay? So this is just a regular plain old trapezoid, okay? But in a trapezoid, the bases are parallel, okay? That's what the arrows mean. Well, if I've got two parallel lines, and here's my transversal, so there's x and 85 are same side interior. But we know that same side interior angles add to 180. So x would be 180 minus 85. So x would be 95. Okay? All right. Now, it wants us to find the length of the diagonal. Look here. We have an isosceles trapezoid. Now, what that means, also, if you have diagonals in an isosceles trapezoid, the diagonals are congruent. So, QS is congruent to PR. Okay? Well, QS is 7.1. Well, if QS and PR are congruent, that means they have the same length. So PR is 7.1. Okay, here's your diagonals. In case you don't know, those are your diagonals. Okay, back to the mid-segment. Okay, now, again, I've got, so base, mid-segment. Okay, so QP equals 1/2 times GD plus FE. Now let's plug in what we know. QP is 3x minus 10 equals 1/2 times GD is x plus 3 plus FE is negative 17 plus 4x. Okay? First thing I'm going to do, times 2. Get rid of the 1/2. So I'm going to take this 2. Now I have to distribute it. So it's 6x minus 20. Okay? Now, let's talk about like terms. X plus 4x, 5x. Plus 3 minus 17 minus 14. Okay? Now, I got an x on both sides of the equal sign, so I have to move the smaller one over. So I have x minus 20 Now, that's negative 14, so negative 14 has to come down. Add 20, x equals 6. Now, you got to read the directions, because the directions say find the length of the midsegment. So the midsegment is QP. So QP equals 3x minus 10. Well, x is 6, so I plug 6 in for x. 3 times 6 is 18, minus 10. The length of my midsegment is 8. Okay? A lot of algebra going on here. All right? All right, this time they say find the length of the base. Well, it's the same thing. Now, I probably should have done it this way from the start, but let me adjust our formula a little bit. What if we did this? Instead of doing 1/2 times the sum of the bases, what if we just did 2 times the midsegment equals base plus base? Because when we multiply both sides by 2, that's what's going to happen anyway. So why make that step every time? So why don't we just use this formula instead? So we've got what? So I got base, midsegment. So I have 2 times 4x minus 24 equals 20 plus x plus 16. Okay, well, distribute. So that's 8x minus 48 equals, combine like terms on the other side. So I've got x, that's nothing else to combine with. 20 plus 16 is 36. Okay, once again, I've got an x on both sides. So I minus x to both sides. So I have 7x minus 48 equals plus 36. So I just bring down 36. Two-step equation, add 48. So 7x equals 84. Divide both sides by 7. X equals 12. But the problem says find the length of the base. So they want us to find that. So FC is x plus 16. Well, x is 12. So I plug 12 in for x. So the base is 28. I think this formula will work better than the 1/2. Okay? I think anytime we can avoid fractions, I think we have to. None of us like them. So I think if we can kind of avoid them from the start, I think that'll help.